Let's get real. Real estate is confusing. Let us help, guide, teach, educate, and make real estate great.
All right, Josh, we're back this week. Looks like we're still having some technical difficulties with that intro there.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for everybody for joining us. I'm Josh. That's John. We're here with Good News Realty Group. So super excited. There's a lot of things that happened this last week that we just want to talk about. You know, going from interest rates to what's going on here in the Boise Treasure Valley area, plus some other things. So we have a itinerary. So John, you want to read it out for us?
Before we get into that, Josh, what's new this week with you?
Ooh, what's new with me? Well, I'm a little tired, more tired this week than I was last week. But other than
Is that good or bad? Not sure.
Just means that we're working harder. So
okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'll get into this today. Interest rates, as we all know, have increased. We're going to talk about that. Mortgage rates going up, current housing market, U.S. and Idaho, Fed rates, the greater Idaho movement, and In-N-Out Burger. And we got some other things to talk about, not in particular order, but just some things we want to throw up there.
Yeah.
Again, this is open questions. You got any questions, throw it down in the comments. We'll respond to it. We get to it. Just keep in mind with the stream, it's a little delayed. I think we're about 2 minutes delayed from last time that we realized. So by the time you actually put your comment in there, we're kind of seeing it 2 minutes after the fact. So stick around so we can answer it as well. And we also got some questions to answer later in the stream as well. Just kind of jumping into it, Josh. We threw a poll up last week. What would it take for people to enter the real estate market? And overwhelmingly, people want the market to crash. Or price reductions, or this is fine. So I kind of thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But how do you react to that?
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people are waiting. I mean, I think the market crash / price reductions kind of fall along the same lines. But yeah, I think there is people still buying right now. I mean, I had a conversation with a gal yesterday and who had a little bit of a buyer remorse. I mean, we had a 40-minute conversation. They got here, they decided to rent. And they rented for a year, but then like, oh man, this isn't. So they jumped into the market. And when they jumped to the market last year. She called me. She said, "Oh my gosh, we're upside down in our house. What do you think? Like, do you think we could do a lease purchase on our house? Do you think we could do an owner carry? That kind of stuff." And so, you know, we spent about 30 minutes kind of walking through her situation. But this was somebody who kind of like what we've been talking about is, you know, be patient because now they're outgrown their house. And she's like, man, I just feel crammed. I don't know what to do because I want to get a bigger house. And so, you know, part of people wanting to see price reductions or price crashes for the affordability. And, you know, and so we just always want to encourage people, just be smart and don't just jump in blind. Just make sure you're doing your homework. So,
yeah, I just, what do we have? 282 votes. I mean, that's pretty good for our channel. So yeah. I think
a little YouTube channel.
I think people are beyond the point of, you know, waiting for all these different dynamics to happen. They just want the market to crash. I mean, unfortunately, that's going to take out a lot of people if that happens.
Well, I mean, and the thing is, a market crash, it's not like an overnight thing, right? It's a long game. I mean, last year, again, it took 7 months to drop 20% in the median sales price here in the Treasure Valley. And who knows how long this next round is going to be. Interest rates started to drop, and we're going to get into more of that later. But interest rates started to drop, and then all of a sudden, in 2 days, you know, they jumped up almost 50 basis points. So that was a lot to swallow, especially, you know, we are currently working with buyers who are buying in this market. You know, we're being cautious and all that kind of stuff. But when I told them, hey, we just submitted an offer, but our interest rates jumped up. So they had to really rethink, okay, does this payment make sense for me right now?
Yeah. And we're seeing a lot of indicators that it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. As we're kind of going to go into here for that theory of a market crash, which I think a lot of people already think we're there or headed there. I know a last video they said, who had predicted the 20% recession? Again, can you remember that article we had?
Yeah, it was the Dallas Fed.
Yeah, I think we're a little higher percentage than that. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, if our market has corrected more than the rest of the United States, some parts of the United States hasn't had a correction. And and yeah, so if they're saying the whole United States needs to see a 19.5% correction because that's how big of the bubble that we're in, then we could potentially get hit harder because of that.
Yeah. Well, speaking of get harder, talk about this. You
Yeah.
also posted this on the community board. This is a quote based on a 10%, 610,000 purchase price with an 810 credit score. A
Mhm.
par rate for us would now be 7.524. And that's as of yesterday, correct?
Yeah, and the APR, just to make sure people see that, because it's going to be a little short. The
Yeah, it's a little
APR on
blurry.
that was 7.653. That's just one of the local lenders here. He's one of the partners in Fulcrum Home Loans,
Mhm.
and so he thankfully provided this for us to kind of talk about. But going back, I mean, at February 1st, interest rates were 5.99. So we're the first and a half weeks into March, and they've jumped full 1.5%.
Mhm.
So we haven't seen jumps like this since I believe since back in May when interest rates started rising, and so we're back at a new peak as high for high interest rates.
Yeah. So what happened? We can remind everybody about a month and a half ago, rates came down. Everybody went on a spinning spree. Everybody thought the market was coming back. But in our videos, we predicted, and we kept telling people they're going to go back up from the indicators that we saw, correct?
Yeah, we were
And
just like, guys, it's not like the demand is not there.
Yeah.
And so, and people did what they needed to do, what they felt was right
Yeah.
for them to do. But, we didn't. And we still don't think we're at the lowest of the home prices because, something you got to keep in mind is you can refinance a high interest rate, but you can't repurchase a house. So if you buy a house and it loses $50,000 in equity, you can't just turn around and refinance that without possibly bringing money to the table. And so it's just something to keep in mind. Now, yes, we work with clients that are buying cash. We work with clients that are putting, $500,000 down on houses. So, they're in a different situation when it comes to the rates. But, if you're putting the 3% down, we're talking about first time home buyers or second time home buyers that are putting 5% down, 3.5% down. It's just, something we just really want our audience to be careful of.
And talking about that 610 price point, you just were looking up numbers. How many listings do we have under 600,000?
Under
Here in
600,000.
the
Yeah.
Ada County, correct?
Well,
Or is it MLS?
well, on the MLS
Okay.
and the Treasure Valley, we're at like 1,100. And the thing is, we're always low coming, and then it starts picking up back into March, April, May. It starts gaining.
Yeah, but how do you think these interest rates are going to affect that, though?
I don't know. I mean, we have a client right now who she has a beautiful home in Lexington Hills, right?
Mhm.
It's almost 4,000 square feet on over a quarter acre. So it's on one of the bigger lots. And, she's willing to sell it right now if the right price comes, but she doesn't want to put it out there until she, so I think there are buyers. We also, there's about 15, I got to go back here. I believe it's 15 million homes in the US that are vacant, and 6.6 million of those homes have not been put on the market or have not ever been listed for sale. So there's a lot of vacant homes that we haven't even seen. And we are starting to see vacant homes. And I'll just take this time to share, like, if you are thinking about selling your house, obviously you don't want to wait till there's more competition. And so that's just
Well, not
couple
even
things.
competition, but I mean interest rates. Because if you don't have a cash buyer coming, it obviously depends on the property. But
Property and the price point.
we've
Yeah.
been talking about buyers getting pushed out of the market for a while now, but now they're getting
Mhm.
really squeezed right now. I mean, this is pretty high interest rates.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And what was the cost? You were talking about the cost of buying that down.
So we have a client. They were gonna buy a home right around 600,000,
Mhm.
and in order to get their interest rate down to 6.25, it was going to cost them right around $13,000. So that's
It's buying it down.
yeah, and that's after that's after a 10% down payment, which at 600,000, that's $60,000. So
Right. Wow.
um,
Well, I want to bring this up. Hopefully, you guys can see this is kind of just the nationally, the daily rate index as today. But you can see, I mean, nationally, we're at 7.37. So it's not an anomaly here in Idaho,
Mhm.
right? And I know typically our local lenders and banks are a little lower, but it looks like we're all running about the same or higher, right?
Yeah, we're sitting. Yeah, it looks like some we're sitting higher, some we're not. Just again, it's going to depend on your credit score and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah. Well, here's something that can really adversely affect the mortgage rates as well, because you sat in with the lender the other day, and they were just talking about how they were raising the rates, but because they're predicting the Fed to have tougher rate hikes path coming soon, correct?
Yeah, well, and so we even talked about this on the last video that we launched. And if you guys haven't seen it, go back and watch it. We launched it on Tuesday. But
It's doing pretty good. So
yeah,
we
it
appreciate you
is.
guys sharing it and liking
It
it.
is.
So yeah.
But the Fed, Jerome Powell on it, when he's testifying it against the committee, he said if the data doesn't show like we're making effort, they're not afraid to do a higher increase. And so that just turned the markets kind of at least for the 30-year mortgage, kind of went crazy. And they are like, oh man, we need to bake in a 50 basis point hike. And so that's why we saw in a matter of, I think it was Wednesday we had the meeting, and that's when we found out, oh wow, we just lost 60 basis points in the wrong direction for payment. So it went north rather than dropping. And so, we have another Fed fund meeting coming up, and that's going to be, where they're going to determine where they're going to move the Fed fund rate. And that's going to, kind of disrupt our market one way or the other. So.
Right. And one thing I find interesting in this article, though, when it talks about, says the Federal Reserve could increase the size of its interest rate hikes and raise borrowing costs to higher levels than previously projected if evidence continues to point to a robust economy and high inflation. So, I mean, I feel like the story keeps changing every time this comes out, because now they're saying that we have a robust economy. I mean, a lot of people I talk to, I don't think so. I mean, we were just talking about, you were talking about GM today, right? The layoffs
GM's going to lay off about 2% of their workforce, I believe.
Right.
Let me pull that up right here.
Yeah. And we got a lot of industries that are doing a lot of layoffs, even here locally, as well as that we covered in the past. But I just don't know why they keep mixing that language or what's going on there. And then they're also talking about how inflation's coming down. Maybe you guys can comment, let us know if you're seeing inflation coming down. But what do you think, Josh? You think it's coming down?
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's coming down or my kids are eating more food. So it's hard to say.
Probably a little, probably going up and your kids are eating more food.
Yeah. So, but it's not coming down like we should see it come down. So there's a good chance that we could see the Fed hold stronger for a while. And I think everybody was banking on the Fed pivoting here in December, but they thought by March they're going to pivot, but it sounds like they might pivot in the wrong direction.
Right.
They might do higher increases rather than no increases.
I mean, there's a lot of debate on that. People are wanting the rate system to be done now, rip off the Band-Aid, get it up, get things going. But at the same time, when they say robust economy, I hate that word because I feel like they're being really selective in what they're saying. Because if you just go back a couple of years, I felt that was a robust economy. Right. I mean, there are a lot of people who are doing very well. And now a lot of people are doing very, poor.
Well, and, whether you like Jerome Powell or not, one thing he did say is it doesn't matter if we have a strong workforce economy, if inflation is eating up the job growth.
Right.
And that's what we're seeing, right? We're seeing that we're getting eaten alive by this inflation. At least, I'm not in that top 1%. So I'm getting eaten alive by inflation. So,
well, it's cost and people's savings and everything. I mean, everything they've already saved during the last couple of years is just being eroded away. Yeah. I mean, you call it eroded, you call it transfer of wealth, whatever you want to call it. But there's a lot of people that are suffering because of it. I mean, things have quadrupled in price, and that adds up over time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Along with, as we talked about in the past, of credit card debt and the interest that keeps going up on credit card debt, it's crushing people there as well because they can't keep up with it. So they keep adding more to their cards. And at the same time, like we were going to talk about it, we didn't, but we did about the auto market. What's going on there?
Yeah.
I mean, people are 60 days. What percentage of people are 60 days behind?
Yeah, there's like 5.375% of people were 60 days or more late on their car payments. And back in 2009, at the peak of the recession, this article said the peak, we were only at 5%. So our defaults on car loans is higher than it was back in 2009.
And what's the first indicator?
Yeah, it's going to be your credit cards. It's going to be your car loans. Those are going to be the first to go because you can sleep in a car, but people are going to try to bank their house payment before they.
You would hope so.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Let's get to a question here too, real quick, from Johnny Moline. Do you think there was going to be a lot of people upside down in their houses? Would it be better to ride out this rather than bail like people did in 2008?
Yeah, I had this conversation just this week with somebody where they said they're upside down, and unless their neighbor, and a lot of their neighbors are upside down too, and they said unless their neighbors start short selling, they're not planning to short sell. Maybe they'll take, maybe they're going to try to rent it out and take a loss every single month, and hold on until it came back up. Because people who bought even last time in 2007, 2008, we helped them sell for a profit that held on to it. The downside is that they were stuck. And that's why we have another client that just signed a lease. They're moving up here and renting, and which I think is good for them, because then they get to know the area and they can really hone in on what do they want, where do they want to be, and they don't just jump into buying something and feel like, oh man, I'm stuck now. Yeah, I can't get out from what I just bought. So
I wonder if we get to a situation like that, if people are just going to follow other people and just jump because they're jumping and move to the next, the next biggest thing, or trying to escape the area. It's going to be interesting for sure.
Yeah. Well, I do think people are, like I said, people have started jumping off the fence. They thought we hit the bottom, and they started buying again. So, there are definitely houses that have sold there, but it's just like anything. Even in the recession, houses were selling back in 2008.
Yeah.
All the way through 2011. So houses are still going to sell. It's just for how much, and are you going to be a smart buyer or an emotional buyer? So
definitely. Cool. Well, some local news here. I thought this article was pretty cool. So bill introduced to stop HOAs and local governments from banning ADUs. I'll jump into the text here, then jump back. A Garden City area legislator is trying to make it easier to build an accessory dwelling unit on your property, but the proposal obviously has met with some skepticism at the State House. They're basically, what this article is saying is they're trying to prevent HOAs in the cities from not allowing you to put an ADU on your property. Obviously, I don't have all the actual fine print because I didn't have enough time to jump into the bill there. There's a lot of questions about what size property, or what kind of restrictions are they actually coming down with. But first of all, why don't you explain what an ADU is, Josh, and then we can talk about that.
Yes, the ADU is an accessory dwelling unit, or what is also called a mother-in-law suite. So this is very popular, like in the North End area, where people have a detached garage with alleyway access. And so they turn that garage and they turn it into a studio, or above it, like this particular picture, they turn the above the garage into a studio, and then they rent it out, right? You can rent it out Airbnb. You can have somebody live in it for long-term. Or what it's really made for is for mother-in-law or father-in-law to move in. So if you have not bought a property with a current ADU on it, and you have to go through the process right now, you have to have somebody who's related to you sign that they're going to move into it before you can get the permit to build on it. So there's a lot of hoops that you got to jump through, and I don't know. I think it's great. I have a friend who has one of these on his rental property out in Nampa. And so when him and his wife first bought their house, they Airbnb the back of it, so the ADU, and that paid for their mortgage. And then they ended up finding another house, and so now I think they have a couple doors. But I think they're a great opportunity for people who want to live together with family members, but there are some restrictions. Like, right now they're trying to eliminate the restrictions from the HOAs and the CCNRs and that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
I feel pretty good about that. I mean, I have an acre, and the hoops I have to jump through to try and get something like that done, because it's not pre-existing. I didn't have a ADU already in place. It's just mind numbing what they want me to do. And then I'll, if I want to put an ADU, I have to have a family member that actually lives there. Like, it's just ridiculous. I mean, I know there's got to be some fine points when, the size of property and the density. And obviously if people start building 15 units in their backyard, there's going to be some issues. But, people that have certain size lots or something that could accommodate it. I mean, I'm all about it. I don't see there's why not? Yeah. It's your property, build a dwelling unit, do what you want with it.
Absolutely.
So
yeah. And for those guys who are just joining us, if you haven't already, we'd love it if you hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe if you want to follow along with this journey. We just try to bring stuff locally here in Idaho, but then also nationally, and look at it.
We irritated some people last week, so
we did.
We good. It's all good on that. So. Cool. Another article, bill to provide up to 40% tax relief to Idaho homeowners moves forward in the Senate. So I think this is pretty cool. I'll read some text on here real quick. For instance, if you pay $3,000 per year in property tax, you could get a $600 credit from the state fund, and also another $600 credit from the surplus, a total of $1,200. So I'm pretty sure from what I read, I mean, I got to go into I think this is on top of the home exemption already. I'll read a little story here. A single citizen testified during a hearing. Mary, who lives in Boise, Norton, pleaded with the community to take action. My husband, Jim, and I are being taxed out of our home. Yeah. Boise is a fantastic city. We love it here. We love BSU sports, and said, as a semi-retired senior citizen, The possibility of having to move from Boise is becoming a possibility as the value of our homes have gone up. So have the property taxes.
Yeah.
So pretty much, I mean, there's a lot of people that are being taxed
Yeah.
insanely because of the amounts of the property values that went up.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's a serious thing. One of the people I talked to this week about them wanting to sell their house, that was a concern. It was like, you know, I used to have a widow exemption, but then the government took that away because the house was worth too much at that time. And so they took it away. And now she's thinking, man, I might have to sell my house. It's a real thing. The thing that I don't like about this, though, is they're just moving where you're being taxed, right? You're going to get moved to being taxed, right? Is that correct, John? They're going to move it to your grocery bill.
from what I read, of course, I mean, that's the way government works. But
yeah,
I mean, if something's lower price on the other side, it's going to be moved somewhere else because, you know, nothing's ever free.
Yeah.
But I think it's substantial, the amount of tax that people have been taxed lately, especially for Idaho. I mean, other states are used to it. I think, you know, back in the day we came from Oregon, we were paying almost $6,000 a year for our property tax. And I thought that was great. And I come here and I'm paying $1,200 on an acre. I'm just like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, right now property taxes are kind of ridiculous. I mean, last year the assessed values went up so high. So there's houses that we're looking at for clients that their property tax bill is almost $600 a month. Mm-hmm. And we're not talking about like $1 million house. We're talking about $650,000 house. And that to me is kind of insane. I mean, we're not in Texas. You know, in Texas, we have some clients that we help move here, and they saved a lot of money in their property tax by having a property here rather than in Texas. But also their home values were lower. So
yeah. And for people who don't understand the tax exemption, can you explain that real quick, Josh, so they know what we're talking about there as well?
Yeah, we're talking about the homestead exemption. Now there is a VA disability exemption and there is a circuit breaker. And so those are different than what we're going to talk about right now. But there we do, the state of Idaho does provide those to veterans and for seniors that can qualify for the circuit breaker. But the tax exemption essentially is, let's say your house is worth $525,000. You get to take $125,000 off at the top. So now you're only going to be taxed on $400,000 rather than the $525,000. And whatever city or county you're living in, that levy code is going against your property taxes, going against your property value, which then determines your property tax amount. And so with all the buying and selling last year, a lot of people's property taxes got reevaluated and got jacked up.
Kind of sticker shock for a lot of people. Yeah, definitely.
So,
well, Josh, I got something else I want to bring up. So we all know about it. We've all heard about it. I figured I'd bring it up. Why not here?
Okay.
Whether or not people feel about Greater Idaho movement to absorb conservative rural counties from liberal Oregon gains momentum. So I'll kind of go into a little bit. I'll go back to that picture. A campaign to have rural Oregon effectively succeed from the blue state and join more conservative Idaho has gained steam as leaders from both states express support for relocating the border between them. Basically, I mean, it's getting overwhelming support. You know, I remember when this started a couple of years ago, people were laughing at it, mocking at it, saying it would never get to this far, and it's here.
Yeah.
And I mean, what do you got on this? What's your feelings about this?
You know, I don't know. I have
because you're an Idaho boy. I mean, you're born and raised
Idaho, but I do have family that like they have a feedlot right on the border of Oregon and Idaho. They have a lot of farm ground, so I don't think they would have a problem moving to the state of Idaho if they just got moved in that way. The thing that is kind of what they shared is hard is pretty much everybody on the coast determines what the whole state does. And that's what I hear when I talk to them is, you know, they really don't have a voice for the state because there's so much population on Oregon. So
yeah, pretty much anything west of I-5 controls Oregon.
Yeah.
Or in 84 as well. But I don't know. I mean,
what do you think? Because you're an Oregon native. I mean, so technically you are the Greater Idaho.
Yeah, technically, but so I haven't been here long enough to call a native yet. But I don't know. I'm mixed about it. I mean, because some of these counties are bringing in, you know, that's hard. I mean, there's so many. I know they voted for it and people want to be here, but you don't know who you're bringing in or what's going on. Obviously, there's a lot of logistics, and will we see this in our lifetime? Maybe, but by the time it gets to the state house in Oregon and probably the federal government, I doubt it'll pass that. I mean, but everybody laughed and joked they would never get to this point, and they're here. My question is though, because you know the biggest thing I always hear on social media is if it does get moved, because you know hard drugs, marijuana and stuff are legal in Oregon,
Yeah.
So when you cross that border right there, obviously everybody's at the pot shop doing what they want. But I wonder if what happens there and the amount of people that are going to get upset about there's so many weird things like that you got to take in
I
consideration.
mean, we're like an hour from the Oregon border, and if
Yeah.
somebody wants to go get some weed, they can drive an hour, pick it up, and do what they want. So
yeah,
I mean, they can't do what they want. It's still illegal to possess it here in Idaho, but I think you understand.
Do you think
what I'm
someday
saying.
Idaho's going to have beachfront property?
Yeah,
So if
probably
we
not.
go down there and Josephine County and take that,
Yeah, probably not.
that'll be interesting. So
Yeah.
let us know what you guys think about that. I know it's been national news for a while, and a lot of people are making a mockery of it, but it's gained steam, so that's kind of we want to track it and follow it. Because I mean, imagine showing houses, Josh, and I mean, Idaho after it grows like that, the amount of places we could go.
Yeah, but it's pretty deserty. I mean, it's not. It's not that pretty.
There's a lot of places to get lost. It's good.
There is a lot of places to get lost. That part of Oregon. I mean,
you been in Christmas Valley?
No.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
Maybe another day for that. Anyways, and I want to bring this map up right here. So a lot of people are saying that people are leaving Idaho, but according to last year, the census was however accurate that's going to be. I don't know if you guys can see it. Wish I could zoom up on it here, but the only other state that's actually beating Idaho currently right now for inbound migration is Florida.
Yeah, and this was for 2022.
Correct. So it's not this year, but 2022. But last year, Florida was 1.91 and Idaho's at 1.8. I know we've had a few people move out, but it's still, I think, 50-50 people in and out.
Yes and no. I mean, there are people that are like, I think it was on our last live stream where we talked about somebody who sold their house for a loss for $100,000 to get back to where they were coming from. So, there are definitely people who are like, oh, these winters are not what I thought. Like right now, I think it's snowing. I'm not 100% sure, but it looked like it was getting ready to snow.
Well, I think it was sunny the other day, snowing, raining.
But the skiing's fun. I talked to a client, one of our clients, they moved here from Illinois, and he was telling me how his boys got skiing lessons, and they're loving the mountain right now. So that was pretty cool.
What do you think is driving everybody out of, I'll call them the crazy states, into the good states? So in my opinion, might be somebody else's opinion. That's my opinion. But what do you think is the driving factor of people leaving the West Coast and Central and, kind of the East Coast and coming to these more predominantly conservative states?
Yeah. Well, I think before it was the cost of living, but that cost of living has gone away.
Correct.
And now I think some of it is the freedom, right? We have more freedoms than some of these other states, and people want that freedom. So people want to have more yard space, right? They want to have a backyard. They want to do all that. So, anyways, that's kind of.
Yeah. Well, speaking of people moving in, we got In-N-Out finally coming. I don't see what the big deal is about this restaurant, but maybe you can fill me in on.
I actually like Five Guys. My wife and I, we like Five Guys over In-N-Out. So my question to you guys who are watching, In-N-Out or Five Guys, which one's better?
Or Chick-fil-A.
Because
I feel Chick-fil-A, the lines are just as long as In-N-Out Burger. And whenever I go past In-N-Out Burger, I don't understand why people sit there for 4 hours for a cheeseburger. I mean, the only time I went
cheeseburger and I think they're skinny fries. I think is what they have.
The only time I went there is the one time we drove through California. We were picking up the car. Yeah. And I don't get it, but maybe somebody can enlighten me and let me know why they're so good. Yeah. But anyways, they're coming to the area and they're going to be building 2 stores. Mm-hmm. One up towards Chinden up here, and the other one in the Village area, which I think is going to be an absolute nightmare for anybody who's been on Eagle and Franklin and that area. Yeah. I know exactly.
You got the huge lines from Chick-fil-A, so now you're talking about Chick-fil-A.
Well, exactly. You have Chick-fil-A there, and you're going to have this. I mean, what the heck? How are they going to change that? It's already 4 lanes, right? It's 2 and 2.
3 and 3.
3 and 3. Okay, yeah. So it's already 6 lanes wide, and it's still somewhat of a nightmare through there. And they're going to put it in that dirt lot that sits right there on Eagle in the corner.
Well, I was talking to a gal who's getting ready to sell her house in Eagle, and she's like, it actually won't be too bad getting out of Eagle because Eagle Road has gotten so bad. I lived out here when it was just 2 lanes, and now it's 3 and 3. So she's excited to get out of there to not have to deal with Eagle Road anymore, because that's kind of one of the main complaints about living in Eagle.
Well, for a minute there, I had to look at that map again. So I thought they were going to put it, that massive dirt lot on the right hand side that's still a farm, and they just refuse to not be a farm anymore, right by the Village. But it's actually going to be in front of HM there, the clothing store, the Village.
Yeah,
Which
H&M.
that's a very busy area.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. You gonna go get a burger? You gonna go wait in line for 3 hours?
Probably not.
Okay. Answer that. I'm going to jump into some questions here. This is kind of trailing from our last lives.
Yeah, and I think Johnny Fly just joined us. So
He did?
yeah, he did. So
Yeah, well, we're not getting comments. I'm not sure if those are operating correctly or not.
we're getting them. We're not seeing them on our stream platform. Okay. So
oh, we're not?
No.
Oh, actually, there they are now.
They're
coming up. Sorry about that. We'll throw them up there. I'll get through this one. I'll throw the questions up. From Johnny Fly, any realtors that want to throw a lowball offer in the Nampa Milton area? Josh, I'll let you run with this one because it looks like Twisted came out and said you need to do a better job of letting people know you're in the business of real estate.
I know. Yeah. So for those of you guys who don't know, I'm the designated broker for Good News Realty Group. John is an agent. We have a couple other agents here on our team. So yes, we help clients buy and sell real estate. And we don't just do this YouTube thing. We do this YouTube thing because we feel like it's our duty to share what we are seeing in the market. It's our job to bring what we see to people beyond just our clients. And so that's why we do this channel. So if you appreciate that, we would love a thumbs up.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
I'll bring this one up from.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to burst them to Marie.
We'll call Marie.
Yeah. I've been researching about the Fed fund rate. And from what is interesting is in the 70s, they were trying to stop inflation, but they kept pivoting too soon, which made inflation last longer. Well, great, Josh, because you researched an entire video for that. They released a few months ago. So run with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with you, Marie. And that's even what we saw in the 80s with Volcker. They thought they had it, so they pulled it down. And I think, and I don't know if it's just show, but I do think Jerome Powell might be trying to not pivot too soon to make sure they learn from the mistakes of the past. But the other thing that we have to learn from the past too is in 2006, 2007, 2008, the Fed held their Fed fund rate for a while, and then something broke on top of the fraudulent lending. And then our economy went down, and it didn't stop going down until 2011, 2012. So there is something about holding it too long to have it break. I think things are already broken. We are just living in this, as one subscriber said, la la land. And so I totally
feel like a lot of people feel that way. So
yeah. But that's okay.
Yeah.
So
awesome. Well, thank you for the question. We appreciate that. And from Johnny again, as property values go down like they have recently, are yearly taxes following suit?
That depends, because you're gonna have to go and fight. So obviously, if you believe in the government, you love the government, you probably are going to disagree with what I'm going to say, but the government doesn't like to give back money very easily. And so as the property values have gone down, even so last year I fought my tax assessed value, because I'm like, I don't want to pay taxes on something that, I think this home is worth less than what you guys are assessing it at. And I went through the whole fight. Well, one of the commissioners, they literally looked at me and they said, well, next year as home prices go down, your values are going to go down too. So I don't know. I think you're going to have to still fight it, because they're not going to just want to give that back.
They're not going to want to give money up.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
100%.
That's awesome. Cool. I'm going to jump back into our next question here as well. It seems to me that Idaho hides information info to potential buyers, like the final sales price, some price reductions, info, etc. So if you would go ahead and explain how we're a non-disclosure state and how that works, Josh.
Absolutely. So Idaho's a non-disclosure state. We don't have to disclose what the sold price is. So if it's not on the MLS, then we don't have to put it, then more than likely most people won't know unless you disclose it to the assessor. So that is one spot where you can go. You can look at the tax assessors, and sometimes people will disclose what they bought the property for. The other thing that you can see is like, okay, is there a mortgage? What was the deed of trust that was taken out of that? Will help you as well. Or you have a real estate agent that can go into like, hey, these homes sold and this is what they sold for. I just did that for one of our subscribers. They're watching Avonmore. So I went through Avonmore and I said, okay, hey, these 3-4 homes sold, each of them sold for, $10,000 to $35,000 under the list price. There's this amount, this amount pending. And so an agent can do that looking through the MLS. Now Zillow, we don't have to disclose that stuff on Zillow. And that's why the Zestimate can be so often. I had a conversation with another person this week about the Zestimate and how you don't want to, don't let the Zestimate drive what you think the home is worth, because they don't have things like they can't go into a house. They can't tell if the carpet needs to be replaced. They can't tell if the yard is completely shot or if it's, manicured. And so anyways, that's
That's why a lot of times Zillow, Realtor, all those
Yeah.
real estate big companies, they send you those emails to try and get you to build a owner profile so you can track your price. But really what they want to do is they want to collect that information.
and then they sell it
they
to
sell
us.
data. Yeah. And then they sell it back to
Yeah.
agents that pay ridiculous amount for
I mean,
advertising. So
They must not be that hungry anymore. I think agents might be more hungry than, because before Zillow was calling us like every other week. Hey, do you want to pay for leads? Do you want to pay for leads? Because that's what Zillow does. Well, as soon as you fill out, oh, I'm interested in this house, you don't even go to the listing agent. It sends it to a random agent who's paying for your information, and then they call you and bug you. So we don't pay for Zillow leads, but they haven't called us in a while, so I'm guessing a lot of agents are
we're not
buying
their
those right now.
their preferred zip code, Josh.
Well, I
so
think
they don't like
I
our
think
YouTube
agents
channel. So
I think agents are paying for more of them than what they were in the past. So
yeah. Before we move, I don't know if you already explained it in the beginning, but why is Idaho a non-disclosure state?
I don't know.
You don't know. That's
Why?
something we look into. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's because they want to protect people's information and they have a choice to give it up. But also, I think
Well, this really comes into play in farm and development land. Like this is great for developers, great for farmers, because maybe Farmer Brown doesn't want to know what his neighbor doesn't want his neighbor to know how much money he made off the dirt. So
I look at it that way, but I also look at it as a split line from the private owner and the government, where the government's always chasing tail, trying to figure out what you paid for that property, and you're not having to give up that information, so they can just tax you on exactly what you paid. So I mean, could be right, could be wrong. We could look into that.
Yeah. The one thing we didn't go on that question though is he also said price reduction. So one thing that people have done, they take the listing off and then they repost it so the days on market change. Or there was an agent, they took a listing, they changed the address. So instead of putting way, they put street, and it made it look like it was never on the market before, even though it was on the market for about 4 months prior than this agent taking it over. So that's another thing that you can't. And Zillow, for some reason, Zillow in our market is not showing price reductions anymore in the price history, where it used to. Even I think 6 months ago it was showing that. So I don't know what changed there.
We'll have to look into that. Wonder why they changed something like that. Let's get into another one. We kind of briefly touched on this earlier in the stream, so you guys can go back and listen to that part. But another comment I found interesting was over here in Eagle last week. I sold my house in 2 days, all cash, with many others interested. A neighbor a few blocks over sold his in 1 day, all cash, legacy community. New homes in the 1 mil price point are moving. Interesting market indeed. Keep up the great content and data to support.
Yeah. And I've said this from the beginning. Homes are still moving. Last year, even though we saw 20% price reductions, the median sales price dropped 20%. We still had about 20,000 homes sold in the MLS. So homes are still going to move, especially if you price it right. I had a conversation with somebody, about, hey, we will pay for your staging as long as you list it where we believe that it should be listed. If not, then we're going to ask you to pay for the staging. But that's part of our job, is like to help get it sold. But if people don't, anyways, I won't go on that. But yeah, homes are still moving. It doesn't mean that homes aren't going to sell.
Well, here's my theory on that. I could be right or wrong. You can correct me, but I think in that price point, there's a lot of cash buyers. People have sold multiple properties. People coming out of state. I mean, especially at 1 mil, and they're not financing. Prices are coming down. Homes are moving quicker in that price point because people are trying to absorb them.
Yes and no. We do have a lot of it. I mean, when I say a lot of inventory, we have more $1 million inventory than what our median household income.
Yeah, but are people really going out and financing $1 million at 7.5%?
Yeah, well, yeah, you get in jumbo territory. But I'll say right now, we have a client right now who's looking for a big house on an acre in the Eagle Meridian Star area. So we definitely have clients that are looking in that price range. So it's not, that's not too far.
No one from Johnny. There's a lot of subdivisions in our area that have been delayed and ready for construction, but they're just sitting there. Do you look at this as bad news for the market? So I know his employment, obviously that's my dad. Thanks for commenting, Dad. He works for Nampa Paving. So he sees all the developments in the Valley. He drives around constantly all day. And he's been telling me that these developments that they've done, 6 months ago are still sitting there, as bare ground. So maybe you can enlighten people on what's going on there, what your theory is on that, especially with Land Pro data and things that we've looked at.
Yeah, absolutely. That's part of the thing that we've been preaching, since last year, is that's part of our economy. Our economy is driven by construction. There's a lot of construction jobs, but residential development, some developers are stopping now. There's a lot of developments that have already put in the pipe, put in the pavement, and the lots are sitting because the builders can't build, or they're doing a to be built. So some of these lots, are already taken by the builder, and whether the builder financed it or not, that's going to kind of tell on how a builder can hold it out. I had a conversation with somebody, and I was just sharing with them. There was a builder he's a builder developer. He developed this subdivision, and then all of a sudden I saw a different builder sign in there, and I'm like,
Right.
okay. So I called on it. It sounds like this developer builder ended up selling a handful of lots, maybe because he saw what was coming and he didn't want to hold on to all this inventory, so he needed to recoup some costs. So he passed on that debt to somebody else by selling them the lots. But there are still a lot of dirt that's just sitting.
Do you feel they're sitting there just waiting for, I guess you'd say social economic reasons, just sitting there waiting to see if prices are coming down, if they should start development? Because I know a lot of them are also pushed by permit status. They got to start building at a certain point, but maybe they're pushing to that point where they feel rates are going to come down, prices are going to come down, they can build, and profit from it.
Yeah, we've talked about this for a while.
They're in business to make profit.
There's sellers right here, and they're saying, I'm not going to budge. I'm not going to budge. Then you have some buyers that are saying, I'm not going to budge. Then you have some buyers that are willing to budge. We have some sellers that are willing to budge. And so, it's finding the sellers that are willing to budge right now, because eventually somebody's going to break. And we saw that back in 2007, right? No, it's not going to happen. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. And then they held too long and it broke, and then people got caught. And so I believe there's this stalling, right? There's some sellers, and there are some buyers that are like, I'm done. I'm done waiting. I just got to get in. Like I said, we had a conversation with somebody who just said that they were tired of renting and they decided to buy, but now they regret buying that house because they're too small. And so now they're looking for somebody to do a lease purchase or something like that. So, so just be careful if you are jumping out.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't you purchase a lot from a gentleman way back a couple of years ago, where he held on it from the first recession and the crash, and he sold it to you? He waited. What was that? 10, 11, 12 years?
Yeah.
He waited until it came back.
Yeah. So he held on to it, and he ended up selling it to us for a loss of what he had into it. And so, and then we built.
Yeah.
He held on to it for a while, and
because he bought it in 07, right?
Yeah. He bought it and he held on to it, waiting for prices to come back, and then prices weren't coming back as fast as they were. And it just so happened that we were in a position where we wanted to buy it and build something on it for an investment, and we did it. And so, there's opportunities to be found. There's always going to be opportunities no matter what kind of market we're in. It's just being ready
when and how,
to jump on it, or to know when not to jump on it. So.
Definitely. Another question from Jeremy Edwards. We appreciate you being here. Thanks for commenting. I've been looking for an acre. I'm a local and been here for almost a year. It's long, close to a stream. What do you think about 100-foot drain field for code? I think it's, what do you think about 100-foot drain field for code that a property is looking for close to a stream?
Yeah. I don't know. We had a lot up in Tamarack, my wife and I did, and we had to do some interesting things to try to get that property built. And sometimes you just have to play the game. So whether I agree with some of the things they made us do or not, we did them. Like, there was one development we were helping a client get through, and they wanted them to put a 10-foot sidewalk.
I remember that.
I'm like,
I'm
like, wait a second. Do you realize that you could drive a car on that sidewalk?
Yeah, just as wide as the road.
Yeah. I'm like, why would you want us to? That is so much concrete.
But keep in mind, none of the existing neighborhoods, they all had the.
Yeah. This was the first development, and there's two farm fields on both sides. So it was going to be a 10-foot, I think it was like 150 foot by 10 feet sidewalk. And it was going to dead end on the road, and then it was going to dead end to somebody's field. But nobody on that street, on that side of the street, had a sidewalk. So it was,
Yeah, I guess kind of more context about that question would be helpful. Maybe location, what you're trying to do with that drain field would be helpful. I mean, you could also always write us at info@goodnewsrealtygroup.com, and we kind of email there and kind of go into more detail about the conversation as well. Coming from Johnny Fly. I've been poking around Realtor.com this morning. A lot of new to-be-built homes added just last the day. You were just going over new construction numbers, right, Josh?
Yeah, I was just looking at that. So, there's still quite a bit of new construction. I think about what I say, a quarter of our inventory is new construction on the market. But on top of that, we do have a lot of builders that are now having to switch to be built. One, because they see like, oh man, I can't move my inventory. I remember last year we had some builders in Homestead. They dropped their homes $200,000 just like that to get the inventory moved because of what was going on. And people wanted to jump on it, and so builders aren't as fast to give away stuff, but you just have to find the right one at the right time.
Definitely.
Yeah.
From Elizabeth. Thanks for being here. We appreciate you being here. There is a high-end subdivision going in Kuna called Palma, correct? Paloma? Ridge? Yeah, Paloma.
Yeah.
Why are so many subdivisions offering homes over $700K, especially in Kuna? It's ruining the small town feel, which I feel like a lot of people think that as well. But
yeah,
what do you think, Josh?
Yeah, well, I think half of our inventory is listed at $600,000 or more in the Treasure Valley. So that's kind of what we've been preaching is like, as these builders, as the people with the inventory up here, as they get squeezed because there's not as many buyers up here, and that's going to push the rest of the market down. And
I think especially in Kuna. So I'm thinking people are still thinking that's a small town rural community.
Well, it is.
But
it's being built have a McDonald's.
Yeah.
They have
RVs.
They have a D&B.
Yeah.
They have a Ridley's. They do have a Starbucks.
Yeah.
One Starbucks, I think. So it's growing. It's growing. They are getting ready to have they have a location for a second high school. But
I kind of feel as I heard a sentiment there, because when I originally came back here looking at that, I mean, that was like the area I wanted to be because it felt so rural and so far away. But actually, I feel like now it's just becoming part of Meridian, especially when you're driving down Meridian Road. I mean, it's just boom, right there. Yeah. I mean, you got Southeast Boise, Meridian, Kuna, they're all kind of just running into each other like that. And I think in my opinion, it's a lot of bleed over from the areas that people want to be at. Yeah.
And the other thing to keep in mind is these builders, when they buy a lot, they're buying a lot with about 20 to 25% is what their performance normally is. Now, if it's a developer builder, that's completely different. But when they purchase a lot, they in a normal performer, they're looking at 20% of the total build is going to be in the dirt. And so sometimes
a lot of these builders are buying for they bought these expecting interest rates to be between 3 and 5, and now we're closing it at 8.
Yeah, absolutely,
as well. Don S, welcome back. Thanks for coming and commenting. Hi, thank you for your channel. Why is Emmett so expensive? Thoughts on Emmett?
Yeah. Hey Don, hope you're doing well. Hope you're getting ready for your trip. And Emmett is expensive because that is a city that's trying to stay rural. Now they do have a higher density subdivision that they built. I believe the governor's son was part of that build. But they're trying to stay more rural, like 5 acres, 1 acre properties out there. So there's a lot more space. It is a small town, but people who work in Boise or Meridian can still get in, but there's a dirt bike park out there. There's a place. I mean, John goes out and rides his Razor. He starts from there and he rides all the way up to the mountains.
Little Jim Bike Park.
Yeah, and it's a great town. I mean, I enjoy Emmett. I have some clients that live in Emmett, and they moved from Boise to Emmett to have more space, to be a little bit more quiet. I mean, you're not having to deal with airplanes, as much, and it definitely has that small town feel.
It's gorgeous too when you come over the hill.
Yeah, and if I remember my data correctly, I think Emmett has been the slowest to correct. Meaning, and what I mean by that is they're having the slowest amount of price drops for the median sales price. Not 100% sure on that, and I'll double check that, but I'm pretty sure it's the one that has had the least amount of for the median sales price to drop.
Yeah, and a little bonus item for everybody who doesn't know. If you have a motorcycle or UTV or side-by-side where you're doing, if you drop off at Little Jim Bike Park, you could literally get to anywhere in the Boise National Forest, including I like to go to Crouch a lot from there. I mean, that's quite the ride, but I'm jumping all the way across the mountain from Emmett to Crouch. If you look on that map, it's pretty cool ride. Or Idaho City, or those areas around there.
Well, and you had some clients that bought what, 5 acres out there?
Black Canyon,
yeah, because they just wanted more of the open space. And so it was less expensive, but it is.
Well, when they bought, they got an extraordinarily great deal. I mean, for 5 acres out there.
Emmett, a couple of years ago, you could pick stuff up for a great deal.
Yeah.
I had lunch with a friend, and his cousin sold their house off market, 5 acres, for like $350,000, and it was a nice house on 5 acres. And
I mean, they have water. They have water rights out there.
Water,
they got the 5 acres. They got the gorgeous Black Canyon. I mean, you can see everything. You see
They
storms
have
coming in. It's like
they have the cherry festival. They also have orchards that I like taking my kids out to go orchard picking out there. So everybody gets a bucket, and then we go through the apple trees and pick. We fill up a bucket, and we pay. It's only a couple bucks to fill up a bucket, so it's a fun thing to do.
Awesome. Well, thanks for the question, Don, and good luck with everything.
Yeah.
Another one from Johnny Fly. There are a few homes in Middleton I like on the market for 200 days now. Builder wants 550, but looking around from what I've seen, 480 would be a fair price.
Yeah. Well, I think this is another scenario of like, is the builder going to break first, or is the buyer going to break first? And so some builders are like, no, I'm going to hold out. I'm going to hold out, especially after in January, interest rates started nosediving, but then February they took back off. So if interest rates hold high again, I think we're going to see what we saw back in October and November, where builders were giving money away. They were offering incentives, to 30. I think there is a builder right now that's offering $30,000 just to get their inventory moved. So
that's CBH or
no, that's a
Hubble.
Yeah, Hubble. And Toll Brothers is offering a 5% interest rate on your loan right now. At least last time I looked.
Definitely. I mean, it never hurts to go contact them and try and make something happen like that. But it just depends on what kind of position they're in. Elizabeth K, the border of Meridian moved closer to Kill. Yeah, just like we were talking about it. I mean, I'm southeast Boise, so I feel like every time I pull right out there, I head to Meridian. I'm in basically Kuna. Yeah. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate those comments. Awesome. Keep them coming. I'm not sure we have like a delay in our comments or what's going on. We're not seeing all of them. If you guys are watching on other streams, Facebook pages, personal pages, wherever you're watching on, you can go to our YouTube channel and comment on there, because I'm not sure if Facebook comments show up. Yeah. But go over there, like,
and
subscribe.
If you just joined us, make sure you like this video if you appreciate it. This does take effort. I mean, we're away from our family right now, so that we could be on here talking to you guys. So,
and if everybody watched our video last week, obviously we were being suppressed. I mean, obviously the topics we were talking about, I figured that was going to happen, but we'd appreciate that.
Yep.
As well. I got a few more questions here, Josh.
Okay, let's hit them.
From Luke. I think you and I, shall want things to come back down to affordable. I live in Salt Lake City area. I talk to the people around here, and they're absolutely immune. They act like they're immune to everything that's happening around us. There's a tremendous amount of FOMO, around there. I think you're referring to our last video we just put out. You're talking about FOMO. I think there's going to make a fall here even harder. My new inventory hasn't even been listed yet, but the strategy being played now is I know builders control the prices of the market. This is a recipe for disaster, in my opinion, and we don't get through this much faster.
Yeah.
So
here's the thing: is the Fed, Dallas Fed came out and said the reason why we're in this bubble, and what they figure is a 19.5% bubble, is because of FOMO, because people have left the fundamentals of buying real estate, and they've just got, okay, home prices are always going to appreciate, and we just got to get in before they continue to appreciate. And so that has caused this bubble that we're in. So it's very interesting that the Fed would use the word FOMO in their report. I found that kind of interesting. But I agree. And even right now, like I said, we talked to somebody who moved here, they were renting, and then they jumped into a house because they were kind of like, home prices aren't coming down, just to know that a couple months later, home prices were going to start going negative. Yeah,
let's agree on that one. So we appreciate the comment, Luke. I know you may or may not be on the stream right now, but thanks for that. And always, if you guys comment on this channel or any of this video or any of our videos, we go back and look at them and try and review them and throw them up here to answer the questions. And we're not in here for 3 hours. But another one, there needs to, my screen's flashing. There needs to be a meaningful price reduction across the board for those who will take out a loan to buy a home. There's no other person that can afford a home unless they fund it with cash.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were just putting together some things where we were talking about how much it was going to cost to buy a house. So let me just pull up some information here real quick, because I want to break down actual payments on today's rates.
While you're looking at that, Metal Tracker, I just want to say we appreciate you being here as well. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so for instance, a $350,000 house. Now, there's not that many $350,000 houses, but hopefully you follow and you track me on this. So a $350,000 house with a minimum payment of 3.5% on an FHA loan. Your monthly mortgage payment, this is just your principal and interest, is going to be $2,172. Your full payment, including mortgage insurance, taxes, insurance, is going to be $2,746. So $2,746. Now, I don't know about you, but I've seen the rental. We are helping clients move here that are currently getting into rentals instead of buying because they can find a nicer rental for $2,200, $2,100 versus buying a $350,000 house for $2,746. And the $2,100 homes are, we're talking about Southeast Boise and Harris Ranch. We're talking about out in Eagle and the better part of Meridian. So we're seeing these homes that are being rented and people are being able to rent them for $2,200, or you could buy a house for $350, which if you're going to spend $350, you're going to have to either buy like a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house on the bench, or you might even have to go out to Nampa, Caldwell, and it's not going to be a new house. It's going to be a used house. It's going to be a little bit older, and you might be able to, you're going to be able to squeeze $350, but you kind of look at the basic fundamentals that we've been talking about. It's going to be cheaper to rent right now. Definitely. And if you want to know how to break that down, I just got to make a quick commercial. We did do a why rent video. So you break down the actual costs versus renting and buying. So you can do the math yourself.
Yeah. And bringing that up too, if you guys have videos that you want to see us go more in depth about, just leave a comment below.
Yeah.
And we'll, let's see, this comment's not coming up. Anyways, oh, there it is. Sorry, we're having a weird thing with the comments today. I think it might be the internet, but anyways, yeah. I did want to call this out. DMV and Emmett's hands down one of the best. I don't know if you've been there, Josh, but they're extraordinarily quick. So great job to them. Just want to throw it out there. Another comment here from Melissa. Thanks for keeping us informed. We appreciate you being here and we love answering questions like that. Another question from Mitch. So Cook Brothers completed 2 homes 6 months ago. They've been on the market and recently pulled them. Is there any way to look at how many homes that have been pulled?
Yeah, so we can actually through Land Pro Data, I'll make a plug for them. Land Pro Data, you can go in and you can see which builders have pulled open permits, which ones have had a home transfer or not. And so, you can go to Cook Brothers has a lot, but the thing about Cook Brothers is sometimes they're contracted out. So sometimes somebody's paying them to build a development. And so they're not necessarily always financing it. Sometimes it's somebody else who's financing that build. So keep that in mind because there is, I'm trying to think of where this one, Persia Hills is.
Yeah, we can dig into that. And then I'll put the link for Land Pro Data too. After this video is done, I'll put a link down there. You guys can check it out as well. They have great data. We use them all the time on there as well. Definitely. From Bryden Miller or Miller and Co. I know Bryden here. He says in and out. He's excited for that. Maybe you can tell us why. He says you have to be a Cali native to understand. Well, you got to watch those words around here in that house. But I think a lot of people enjoy it.
Yeah, I think hey Bryden, how you doing? Don't forget we got to go back to Jeremy. He posted right before, but
that's funny. From Jeremy, Fed left the rate too low for local.
Wait, I got a question.
Yeah.
Bryden, are you a Cali native?
He is.
I thought you were Oregon native.
No, he's been all over the country.
All right.
I'm not sure what native he is. So
all right, that's fair.
Yeah. I got to get back to Jeremy here. That's funny. Jeremy, Fed left the rate too low for too long for local wages. I bought my first house at $104K.
Yeah. My wife and I, we bought our first house at 110. I'm like, now I'm seeing prices. I'm like, oh my gosh.
What's that house worth now?
400, probably 450, 500,000.
What year did you buy it?
2013.
Yeah. It's crazy. I don't know. This can be kind of an open-ended question on this right here. I mean, I agree with the local wages, but it's hard because with the rates so low, it allowed people to come into the market and purchase real estate, because we don't know what price point they bought at. But with the rates going up, I think it's pushing a lot of people out for the local wages. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you kind of understand what I'm saying there, Jeremy, is like, people are first-time home buyers can't purchase a home with 7% rate at, a typical, 455 now, median sales.
Yeah. But let's say prices went back down to that. I mean, when the rates were low, money was cheap, but also the Great Migration helped push all these home prices up. But I have to remember my first house, I think my first house payment was like $600 a month. And my wife, I was so stressed that I busted out in cold sores on my first house. So let me quick do this mortgage calculator.
Yeah, while you're doing that, he says I don't know at the time or now. He says I make 25 an hour, 18 a month in child support, 3 kids. So we got some hefty bills there.
Yeah. So right here, if you had a $104,000 house and it was a 7% interest rate, you're looking at right around $1,000 a month for a house, which for right now, $100,000 house, like you should. I don't know. I think that'd be crazy if home prices went down. I don't think they're going to get down that low. Yeah. But that would be
not anytime soon.
Yeah.
We appreciate the question. Yeah. From Traveler, welcome back. Thanks for commenting. My wife and I are renting. We are lucky to have a very inexpensive rental. Awesome. Congratulations on that. We both love the Treasure Valley, but we have no desire to pay what we consider to be an outrageous mortgage. Which I couldn't disagree with you. So
yeah, absolutely. I think if I remember correctly, they have a screaming deal on a rental.
Yeah. They said they're in no hurry to buy.
Yeah. They have a screaming deal on a rental. So that's
awesome. But I mean, going back to that, I mean, everybody's situation is different. And I mean, I completely agree with them, but somebody's version of an outrageous mortgage might be ideal in this environment. I'm not sure who, but you never know people's situation. Yeah. So,
well, the last thing you want to do, like, we have clients that want to buy houses on land. We have a handful of those, and some people don't want to rent that because, they get all moved in, they get their animals moved in, or they get their farm set up.
There's a lot going on.
And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, we are actually going to not renew your lease. So, there's times for that.
Awesome. Got a few more questions here we'll go over and we'll kind of wrap things up. So DJ Gavs, this is from one of our other videos, our video just we released. At this point, potential first-time home buyers like myself can't afford anything decent anyway. So if the rate hikes make home prices significantly fall, I'm all for it. Like you said, you can't just adjust the sales price after the fact, but you may be able to refinance down the road. So,
yep. That's kind of what we, that's what we've been saying. So,
and how do you feel about date the rate, marry the house, Josh? It's kind of along the lines of that, I know.
Yeah, I disagree with the whole date the rate, marry the house. And again, it all goes back to, is the house that you're buying and the monthly payment, is that affordable for you and your family? And if it is, and maybe even if it's a little bit over affordable, and we're not talking about outrageous, like if you're just pushing a little bit, then maybe it's worth it. But you don't buy a house with the banking on interest rates dropping, because that's not a guarantee.
Could get dangerous. Yeah. From Unknown Idaho. So I think you're a new subscriber. If you are, let us know. I saw you pop up. If you're not, I'm sorry about that. I appreciate you being here, but we've had like 180 new subscribers off that last video we just released. I'm seeing property in Jim County coming back down the market at the same price it was listed for 2 years ago and not sold. Is this pie in the sky pricing going to keep sales price high?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. Again, right now there's not enough. There's not enough for the sellers to break. Right. We had a handful of buyers get off the sidelines in January when the interest rates were dropping and people were saying, oh, we hit the bottom of the market. And so a bunch of people jumped in the market. And so that obviously made sellers like, okay, I don't need to move. Some builders took away their incentives that they were doing. Some builders decided we're not going to drop the price anymore, but we're going to have to see what that new interest rate does to our market. But there will be a breaking point, and as we have seen in 2022, where sellers like, I can't afford to hold on to this any longer, and I need to drop my price. And that is if it's not a unicorn property or somebody just comes in and and buys it up. So yeah.
Well, we appreciate that question, and we appreciate you being here as well.
Yep. We have another question.
Awesome. Let's see, Mr. Split Wigs. Interesting name, but appreciate you being here. I see your comments before.
Yeah, he's been
I know. Thank you. I won't buy, period. People thinking their 1970s crack house is worth $400K is laughable. I get it. You want to make it profitable. Let's get real. You're not making 50% over what you paid anymore. I mean, I don't know who can. I don't know. What's your opinion on it, Josh? And I'll tell you mine.
Well, let me just share a story real quick.
Story time.
We had, sorry, I got to go into the story. We have a client, we were then negotiating because prices, the interest rate went up. So we were negotiating an offer, and this person, this person has been anyways, they were going to make, $500,000 on this house. And my client was like upset. He was like, you're not willing, like we got so close. We were only like $5,000 back and forth or 10,000 back and forth. And he's like, you're really not going to sell this house for $10,000 less after knowing that you're going to make $400,000. So, at the end of the day, we didn't put the deal together because, but yeah, I think some sellers, like I said, are kind of, they're going to say, no, I'm not going to move. I'm not going to move. Even though this house has been on the market, was on the market for 4 months. So yeah, it just kind of depends.
I do like your word into a crack house worth 400K is laughable. I mean, there's a lot. So I go back and forth. Yes, there's a lot of homes. I 100% agree with you are not worth what people are asking for. But if we go back and look at a lot of these houses, though, I mean, 60s, 70s, 80s, some early 90s homes, they come with half an acre up to 5 acres. I mean, a lot of the neighborhood we're sitting in right now, Josh, I mean, they're all, a lot of them are over an acre. Yeah. And I guess I look in that as the value as well, too. I mean, if I have an acre with water rights, irrigation rights, and I have a 70s house that's been renovated, I mean, it just depends on the situation. Yeah. But I get what you're saying 100%. Yeah. So another question. Thanks for that question, man. Unknown Idaho, I've been subscribed for 6 months on the advice of my realtor. Thanks for the good information. Well, yeah, I appreciate that. I saw something come up. I got a notification or something from you yesterday, but we really appreciate you being here and commenting.
Yeah. And kudos to your realtor for saying, following us. That's great stuff.
That's great. Yeah, we're never sure who's out there watching, who's plotting against us because of some of the content we put out. But no, we really appreciate you being here as well.
All right, we have about 5 minutes, so get your last minute. We have 2 questions currently that we haven't hit.
Yeah, thanks to you guys. You guys are hanging out with us for over an hour. I mean, we have like 60 people that are just been here constantly. Thank you. That's awesome. So travel again. Are the builders in Are the builders in the Kuna area pulling properties off the market? I have noticed the number of properties for sale dropped. I don't believe that many houses have sold. It's kind of what you were just talking about there, Josh.
Yeah. There's some of them have sold, but then there's some that that they're pulling off the market, getting the days on market reset, and then they're putting it back on market. So I think there is a mix. For sure. Yeah,
doing the reset on there.
Yep.
Well, we appreciate your questions. Mm-hmm. And from Jeremy again, the government needs to stop printing money. It's almost worthless. Oh, well, I mean, 100%. I think it's been worthless since pretty much the 70s when they took us off the gold standard, but that's my opinion.
Yeah.
But it's got to stop. I mean,
tell me your opinion about the gold standard.
The gold standard?
Yeah. Tell me.
I just feel people have their opinions, but they say we're backed by oil or the good of working class. But I don't think we have anything to fall back anymore because the dollar is not protected by an asset or hard asset like gold. We can't go redeem like we'd be able to and preserve that wealth. I think we just had a massive transfer of wealth, and it's led to people having this falsehood of paper currency. It's not money, in my opinion. But so if you have the ability to, I mean, it's always good to diversify, but I know some people don't like to diversify too much. I mean, you got different assets all over the place, but but essentially it's paper. Yeah, and day by day, just like
I know there's an argument that we should we're going back to the gold standard, but I don't think there's any way we can go back to the gold standard. I think if anything, we're going to go the opposite direction and start going to a digital currency because, and anyway, this is even about real estate. So I'll just stop.
No, but you're 100% right. I mean, it's good to bring it up because, we're in business, we have the freedom here still in America to run our business. And that's what we work in with every day. And we start getting to these breaking points of the amount of, the last couple of years we've printed 50% of all the money created has been created in the last couple of years. It's just utterly insane.
Yeah. In the last 2 years, there was a 29% of all the debt or all the money that was printed. So, so
definitely.
Okay. Mr. Split Wigs will answer that. And
definitely. When do you think the market will come back down to the 2008 prices? Or sorry, 2018 prices, not 2008.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we have to have a major crash to get back to the 2018 prices. I think it's more realistic to get down to the 2020 prices, even just to get to the 2020 prices. If I am remembering correctly, we still have to have about 20% drop in the median sales price here in the Valley. So I personally would like to see at least another 20% correction, even though like I own real estate. I know that means I'm losing the equity in it, but I think that's where home prices need to be. Maybe a 2019, I think, but something will have to break to get down to the 2018 prices.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I want to tell everybody, thank you for being here. If you have comments that we didn't get to or with the stream didn't show them, please comment below. And thank you for all you guys that have been here this entire time. We really appreciate everything. Josh, tell them how to reach us.
Yeah. So we will have our stuff in the link below. We try to answer the phone. We try to get back to you. Sometimes we upset people for not getting back, but if you shoot us an email, we will get back to you eventually. And we just want to, again, thank you for the support. YouTube is an animal, and we appreciate everybody who has stayed with us through this time frame. So thanks for that. I hope you guys have a good night, and we will see you next week.
Let's get real. Real estate is confusing. Let us help, guide, teach,